Okay, good evening, everybody. Time is 6:30. I'm going to go ahead and open up public comment. Views expressed by individuals during public comment do not necessarily reflect the views of the city of Fremont, have not been verified for accuracy by the city. As a reminder, city council and staff are not permitted to respond to comments or questions during the public comment period in accordance with Fremont Municipal Code Section 2-103. Public comments will be limited to 3 minutes per person and shall not contain topics included on this evening's agenda. So if you are here wishing to speak, please sign in here at the front. And then we also have comment cards. Oh, okay. Okay, the time is 7 o'clock. That concludes open public comment, and we'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'll go ahead and open up the regular city council meeting and call it to order. Again, the time is 7 o'clock. The Opens Meeting Act is posted on the back wall next to the agendas. This time we'll have a roll call.
7 members are present, Mayor.
All right, next is mayor's comments. I do have a few comments this evening. I'd first like to start with our October Service Awards. We have 5 individuals. First, we have Stephen Booth, 25 years of service. Stephen was hired in 2000 as an instrument and control technician. He was promoted to his current role as power plant electrical supervisor in 2011. Stephen Freezy, 25 years of service. Steve was hired as a power plant operator 1 in 2000. He was promoted to power plant operator 2 in 2004 and to power plant operator 3 in 2008. He was promoted to his current role as power plant shift supervisor in 2014. Beth Anderson, 10 years of service. Beth has been with the Department of Utilities in the accounting assistant role since 2015. Amanda Swan, 5 years of service. Amanda started with the city as a customer service assistant in 2020. In 2023, she transferred to the inspections department as a senior office associate. And then with us tonight is Charlotte Young, 5 years of service. Charlotte has been with the Department of Utilities as of 2020 in the customer assistant service assistant role. Charlotte, would you please come up and accept your service award for 5 years with the city of Fremont? Give her a round of applause. All right, I want to thank all 5 individuals for service awards. Next, I just would like to take this opportunity to recognize a member of the community that we unfortunately lost, Sheriff Dan Weddle. Dan was a dedicated member in our community, and he served in law enforcement for 37 years as our sheriff, or 20 of those as our sheriff. He retired in 2007. He was also a member of the Dodge County Board and served most recently at the Masonic Eastern Star Home for Children. Sheriff Weddle's legacy of leadership, integrity, and public service will never be forgotten. We offer our deepest condolences to his family, friends, and all who served alongside of him. And I also, on the agenda this evening, we do have an appointment to appoint Doug Backins to the Civil Service Commission. And so he did, Dan Weddle did serve on the Civil Service Commission here in the city since 2011. So 14 years. So very dedicated member of our community, and Dan will be missed, and our condolences to his family. What I'd like to do now is this morning I had the opportunity to go out to Columbus, and I gave a presentation to a group, and basically it was a kind of progress report of where the city was at and where we're headed. Actually, the title of the presentation was Building Attractive Communities, the Foundation for Success. And so it's been a while. I thought I would just like to kind of highlight some of the projects that we've been working on and talk about the progress that we have made. And, you know, just kind of giving this presentation got me thinking that it's probably a good idea to maybe do just a quick update. So first thing, I'd just like to remind everybody, you know, this was a few years ago. I think a very important thing we did was we established a mission and vision and a set of core values for the city of Fremont. And so I'd just like to read our mission statement because, again, it guides a lot of what we do. It's to be good stewards by fostering a welcoming, collaborative, and distinct community that provides the resources necessary for sustainable growth and an excellent quality of life. And so everything that we do in our city is focused on that mission. And that was a new thing here for the city when we established that. And I think it's been a great reminder for me, and I think the staff every day when we are focused on our mission, that we are here again for our community, for our citizens to serve them. And so again, just a reminder that what we do here in our community is public service, and it's again create a better life for everyone in our community. So, and we're guided by that mission. And then again on the agenda tonight, we're gonna deal with our comprehensive plan. But I want to remind everybody about what we did on that process, because about a few years ago we adopted the comprehensive plan, actually October 4th, 2022. And I look back, we had 38 separate meetings going over the comprehensive plan with different groups. A steering committee involved elected officials, the planning commission, the business community. We had a student youth workshop. We did a community questionnaire. We did a downtown sub area plan. We had a lot of buy-in and vision for what the future of Fremont is going to be over the next 10 years. And that's been our roadmap. And what we'll do today is, sometimes that roadmap can change, and it's a living, breathing document. But it's a good reminder again to me that we're really working to accomplish what's in our comprehensive plan and all the work that went into that. And so, where are we at? What's the foundation for success, or what's some of the progress? So you look back, where we're at this year with a lot of projects, and I'll just start with infrastructure projects. We just recently opened up the Broad Street overlay from 4th to 23rd Street. 16th Street has been overlaid. Well, we completed a lot of work on the 23rd Street signals. We're working on the 23rd Street turn lanes. We got Cavich parking garage open, which is that was a big deal. We've done a tremendous job, our street department, in filling potholes and keeping up to date with that, with this new pothole patching machine. And it is a big deal, this patching machine. It does a lot of potholes with not a lot of man power. So that's been a big upgrade. We're in the middle of building our parks fleet and maintenance building on South Luther, which is taking shape. And hopefully that'll be able to open up summer of next year, which is going to really bring all of our street parks and fleets together, and just a big benefit for the city. And today we've all heard we've seen the demolition of the USA Steak Buffet building and what's going on at the Fremont Mall, which is another more progress that is happening throughout the community, and it is good to see the mall move forward with the redevelopment plan. And again, there's going to be more to come with them, and good to see that progress. So a lot just for streets and infrastructures for this year. And then you look back to just 2024, it's just a couple years ago. And prior, we've got First Street overlaid. We did Lincoln Street. We've done Clarkson Street overlay. We did Bell Street Viaduct opened up. And then the really big one was the Southeast Beltway. And that was just really a couple years ago since that's really been open. So from an infrastructure standpoint, a lot of work and projects have been done regarding our streets, regarding our infrastructure. And I think when you think about progress, you got to start there. We've got to have safe, efficient roadways and infrastructure in our community. Then you look, well, what's another foundational principle what we got to work on? Well, public safety, right? We are blessed to have a very safe community in Fremont. You see, even my daughter will ride her bike to school, or we feel comfortable be able to be in our community because it's safe. And we've made a lot of progress in that over the last couple of years. We've a couple of weeks ago, the groundbreaking for the new police station and 911 communication center. Guys, that was over a decade of work trying to get to that point where we could actually put a shovel in the ground and get a project done for our public safety. But also not just the building. Look what with the CSOs that were added, with the partnership with Lutheran Family Services for the mental health co-responder, they're doing some really great things that are serving the public, meeting them where they're at, and creating that safe environment that we all want to have in Fremont. And also our fire department. You know, we added staff over the last couple of years, added 6 new firefighters that have now been able to get in, and they've been working 11 per shift. We're working on the new satellite location, which we've got the ground secured. We've got an architect, and the next meeting, hopefully, we'll be able to have a contract for the contractor to build it, which is great progress. As well as no matter what in an emergency, they're there. They're there for our community, and we've seen that this year with the explosion and other events that our staff, our community is there when they need when we need them to be there, and they do it with service. They do it with integrity. So that's public safety. I think again is a foundation for our community. Then you look at, well, what about quality of life, right? We want to be able to live, work, and raise our family here. We want fun things to do. We want to be able to, enjoy living in Fremont. Well, where are we at there? Well, we just broke ground on the new John C. Fremont upgrades with the new amphitheater, the new park restrooms. It's exciting, and the only reason that probably would have happened is because of the creative district that we were approved for and certified for, which we were able to get grant dollars to go to that amphitheater. Also, guys, the transit program. I think we take that for granted now. I try not to when I see the transit vans driving around town, and I know that they are really truly serving our community and doing it well. But that was something that this city had to take on. It had something, that was not going to be there. And we all decided that was a priority, and we wanted to make it a priority. Now it's get that 20 to 25 rides a day. And that's a quality of life. If you can't get to somewhere, and that's a kind of really a basic need, right? And that we're able to meet. We talk about quality of life, and you look at what has happened to our downtown. I mean, you think about all the new restaurants, all the new retail, the foot traffic that has been going on in our downtown, and then you look at what development's going on in the north downtown with the police station, with the new RVR bank location, as well as that north downtown area, and what possibilities really we have for that to connect into our downtown. It's really set up to grow and expand on what we were able to do in our downtown area. We have a very state-of-the-art upgraded Keene Memorial Library that you look back, took $4 million to raise privately. And now, now they're in the groove, right? Providing programs to our community. They're, meeting room, meeting space. It's serving the public the way it was designed to serve. And, that's a quality of life initiative. A city auditorium that's upgraded. Yes, that was again a few years ago, but that's another major piece that hold events and be able to have that. And then, where we hold our meetings, where we conduct the business of the city, right? To be able to make upgrades, to be able to serve the community better in our council chambers, in the place that we do business, a place that we can be proud of, that we can take ownership of. That has been accomplished as well. So, and then just a couple more. So I've done infrastructure, I've done public safety, quality of life. Well, we got to have jobs, right? We got to have jobs. We have to have a place to, we got to have housing. Again, we have to have workforce. So what has happened with that? We have a 1,500 acre economic development opportunity, the Fremont Municipal Inland Port Authority, that has opened the door for companies, businesses looking at Fremont that would have never looked at our community. And that is, yes, that's a long-term project, but something that is going to be able to serve the community, as an economic development opportunity long into the future. We have the CTE Center with the high school, which just an amazing facility that people want to come in, they want to tour it, they want to see how we're training our kids. And companies are, hiring our kids right out of high school that, are, and they're full. I mean, I think there's 700 plus kids going through that CTE center education. They recently built a house. They put it, in Fremont, and now they're going to sell it. And that money's going to come back right into that program. It's just going to cycle through. And what a great example of again, public private partnerships for that. The Fremont Airport, new terminal building, that's been, in service now. And then we've got to remember, we just redid $4+ million runway upgrade out at the airport. And we're blessed with our airport, the long runway we have, what we're able to attract into the community to have that airport is a critical piece. And then housing, what's happened downtown, I'll mention with 505 Lofts is one example. Mixed use would be Blue Stem Commons, neighborhood would be Gallery 23. There's been a lot of other housing that's in the ground ready to go. But, again, that's been another focus is what can we do with housing? And there's still a lot of work to do there. But, and then, then you got to be able to support it with utilities. And, we take advantage of what we have here in Fremont when it comes to utilities. We really have true world-class utilities right here, a state-of-the-art wastewater treatment plant. I mean, it is the envy of a lot of communities to have the wastewater treatment plant we have. We have a vision a long time ago for what was purchased out at the well field to have the access to water. And, we wouldn't, without that vision, water, for right now is not an issue. We have plenty of water, and that was because of a vision that was, we were able to have that. We have our power plant, which is, extremely well maintained over the years that to be able to keep those units running. Right now, we have Unit 8 off that is going through a lot of critical upgrades to keep that unit working. And then, our natural gas system, the employees, like I said, we have an amazing team that we saw this year, with all the emergencies we've had that came to our service when, again, we needed them the most. And that's our biggest asset for sure is our people. And then finally, all of that we did while being fiscally responsible. And I think that, to me, when you look at the foundation of where we're at now and what we need to continue to do in the future is continue to maintain that fiscal responsibility, being able to accomplish all these things while being a good steward of tax dollars. And that, again, I think will continue to be our mission moving forward. So anyway, it's been a while since I had given an update. Thanks for humoring me on this. But as I was going through this presentation, I thought it is time to kind of wrap some of all of this up. But there's so much more to do in the future. But I think, again, the title of that they gave to me was Building Attractive Communities, the Foundation for Success. So I think there is a great foundation that's here for success to move forward. And, there's exciting times, exciting opportunities for Fremont. So anyway, thank you for that and giving me the opportunity. And again, I appreciate you listening, and it makes me proud to be mayor, makes me proud to be able to serve this community and for y'all to be a part of it, and a bright future ahead for Fremont. So thank you. All right, that's all for my comments. And we'll move on to item 1, motion to adopt the current agenda for the October 28th regular city council. Councilman Supran.
I'll make that motion.
Councilman Jensen.
And I will second.
Cast your votes.
That motion carries 7-0, Mayor.
Okay, next on the agenda is appointments. Item 2, move to the consent of the mayor's appointment of Doug Backens to the Civil Service Commission. Again, it's my honor tonight to present Doug Backens to be appointed to the Civil Service Commission. Doug provided backup. Appreciate his service on the Dodge County Board and also the fire service for many years. So Doug will do a great job I appreciate his willingness to be able to serve in this capacity. So I'd take any questions. If there are none, I'd take a motion. Councilman Sukram.
I'll make the motion to appoint Doug back as the Civil Service Commission.
Councilman Vaughn.
And I will second.
Cast your votes.
That motion carries 7-0, Mayor.
Moving on to public hearings, item 3 is resolution 2025-268, approving the conditional use permit for the Omaha Collision Center at 3303 North Broad Street. Staff report.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, Jeff Ray, Planning Director. So before you, we have a conditional use permit for Omaha Collision Center. This is on North Broad Street. It's in an industrial complex with other existing similar uses. It's zoned light industrial, which requires a conditional use permit for auto sales, which is what the primary intent is here. This is unique because it is an indoor auto sale. There's not going to be any outdoor display there. Overall, with the site, because it's one large lot with multiple bays, if you accumulate all of those total parking requirements there, it would require 35 parking spaces, and there's 41 required. So there's ample parking on site for that. It fits within the uses. The adjacent uses are all compatible with that. The findings that we found as staff is that the proposed uses are in conformance with the comprehensive plan, and they're compatible with the existing land uses, and that the proposed use is allowed by right in the general commercial. However, there's no general commercial in this general vicinity. Therefore, they would have to get a conditional use permit in the LI to be in this general area. Another finding was the proposed use is compatible and complementary to those existing land uses. And the conditions for the requested use should protect the public health and safety. And the proposed use will not be disproportionate in use of its fair share of public services. So staff recommended approvals of no outdoor display of autos, no outdoor storage of non-operable vehicles, and all signage shall be submitted for permit and compliance with the Fremont UDC. Planning Commission voted unanimously to approve this with those 3 conditions and those findings that I read. That I would take any questions.
Councilman Sukram.
Yeah, is that parking any vehicles in front and back? It's got kind of a deep back.
That's just parking in front of
So they can park in back.
between the building and Broad Street. So there's no parking in the rear that we counted.
There's not enough there.
The parking in the rear is not paved, so we didn't count that.
I mean, that's what I'm asking. Is it possible they could put cars behind?
It is not, for the conditions that we're proposing, there would be no outdoor auto sales or outdoor display of non-operable vehicles or vehicles for sale. So they could put paving back there for employee parking if they need it. There are 4 parking spaces adjacent to this bay, which is ample.
Councilman Vaughn.
I'm not sure if it's directly applicable, but something I was wondering if still is in our updated UDC that we've been adopting is that for car dealerships, I believe they have to park their inventory on impervious surfaces. And what would your interpretation of that be? Does that mean cement, blacktop, asphalt, or is there some other wiggle room in the middle? And does that apply here? Kind of to Deb's question.
Yeah, it's not applicable here because everything's indoors. But yes, the impervious surface should be paved concrete or a paver of that sort. It'll be all weather, not a dirt or gravel.
Any other questions for staff? Yeah, I'll open the public hearing on this item. Seeing no comments, I'll close the public hearing. Any additional comments from council on this item? Councilman Jensen.
if there's no additional comments, I'll make the motion to approve the conditional use permit for resolution 2025-268.
Councilwoman Ganem,
I will second.
cast your votes.
That motion carries 7-0, Mayor.
Item 4 is resolution 2025-267, amending the 2022 comprehensive plan.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. Charlie Cowell with RDG Planning and Design. Been working with you for the past a year or so on updates to the UDC, working with staff and several council members on making updates. With those updates to the final UDC, there were some updates related to the downtown commercial district that warranted changes to the comprehensive plan so that the code and the comprehensive plan are in alignment, which is a general requirement for to make the comprehensive plan a living document, as you mentioned earlier, to meet the needs of the UDC. So that is the first item here. Planning Commission did recommend approval of the amendments to the comprehensive plan after previous meeting. The edits, as you saw in your packet, related to the downtown sub-area, amending several of the sub-area districts. If you recall, the current plan has 6 or 7 different sub-area districts that call for different regulations or different amendments to the regulating those areas of downtown. For simplification, those are consolidated into I think 4 districts now for administration in the UDC, as well as some of the policy recommendations for the downtown that relate to being a little less restrictive on calling out different types of uses. So for example, being more broad on allowing mix of uses, auto-oriented industrial uses in certain areas of sub-districts, as well as the more flexibility on the bulk design of buildings, particularly related to the height. The current plan recommends for example, in the Main Street area, heights of 2 to 4 stories. This amendment would broaden that to allow 1-story, or a policy for allowing 1-story buildings, which would align with what the UDC edits are. And then there's some minor edits to make sure that other portions of the plan align with those updates to the downtown section. So for example, the implementation tables, just updating those to make sure they align with the updates that are made in chapter 4.
Thank you. Any questions? Councilman Horner?
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Charlie, for that explanation and for all the hard work and everything that everybody, you're the one in front of me, so I'm thanking you, but for what everybody has done to get us to this point where we can be having this discussion tonight over our UDC, our comprehensive plan. On the current sub areas and the proposed sub areas, I've got to admit I'm having a hard time following the this little small diagram that I was given in front of me. Can you help me understand
Yeah.
kind of what's happening down here and what the major changes are?
Yeah, I had some slides. I wonder if we can pull them up.
And then I've got some questions beyond that, Mayor.
Okay, all right.
There you go. So as you see here, on the left side is what the current, the existing comprehensive plan had called out as various sub areas and shaded here. Basically, this is a policy document, so this is not ordinance or regulations on property owners, but it's a guide for the future. And they gotten that the comprehensive plan gets pretty specific on recommendations for each of these areas. And so the proposed sub areas there on the right pretty much eliminates the brown shaded area, which was kind of a transition neighborhood area in the current plan. and broaden that up into more of the Main Street, surrounding Main Street area. And then also the industrial district there in the purple shade gets reduced a little bit to, again, keep more, a larger area of that transition around Main Street. So really, a lot of it remains the same as far as the sub-area boundaries, but it's really in the regulation, or excuse me, the policy recommendations for each of these sub-areas where the change occurs. If you go to the next slide. I mentioned the height of broadening out the height recommendations for the Main Street sub-area, and allowing more types of uses as far as the policy for the city or for the comp plan to allow more industrial types of uses in certain situations, broadening the other uses that might want to be allowed in the downtown. So the main reason is there's these types of uses downtown already, and we want to make sure they can continue in the future under comp plan policy, as well as one-story buildings. So it's not huge major overhaul of the sub areas, but kind of some tweaks to make it a little more clear.
Councilman Horner, do you want to ask questions now? Or do you
How
wanna-
was this received at planning? Was this a unanimous vote at planning to approve this change?
It was.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Councilwoman Lathrop?
I just want to thank Charlie for listening to all of our concerns and making the appropriate changes on here so that there is some flexibility provided to the downtown area and all of Fremont, basically. So thank you, Charlie.
Councilwoman Ganem?
Just another addition that I would like to recommend on this. We did pass a resolution, and it's been a while back already, in June of 2025, that providing the city of Fremont should lead by example and comply with the requirements of the Uniform Development Code as if the city were a private entity. Cities, schools, and churches are exempt. So we could exempt ourselves from the very rules that we're writing and expecting private entities to follow. And the resolution basically said we will, in the best interest of the citizens of Fremont, we would lead by example and adhere to the requirements of the UDC as if it were any other entity. And although we're not required to do so, we'll strive to comply with the UDC and all respects of it when it comes to the development or improvement of city property, unless otherwise directed by city council or the planning board. So we would also follow, I'd like to reword that, and I'll present it as an amendment for our next meeting, that we also include the option that we would follow the same guidelines for the appeal process as well. So we'd be the same in that area. So I just wanted to bring that forward at this time. And thank you for all the work that you've done. And Councilwoman Lori, we'd like to just say thank you for being our representative and working directly with Charlie. So thank you.
I'll now open the public hearing on this item. Any comments from the public on this? Okay, seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. Okay, any additional comments on this from the council? Councilman Sukram?
If there's no more discussion on it, I'll make a motion for resolution 2025-267, amending the 22 comprehensive plan.
Councilman Horner?
Yeah, before I
Go ahead.
second, Mayor, I just want to clarify that, Councilwoman Ganem, you were just bringing that up for informational purposes. You're going to make a recommendation at the next meeting.
Yes, I'll have it written out.
All right, I second.
That motion carries 7-0, Mayor.
Okay, and now item 5 is ordinance 5730, updating the Unified Development Code of the city of Fremont, Nebraska for first reading.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. This request is really based on your request to make some final edits to the UDC at past meetings, just as a kind of refresher of how we got to where we're at today. Full draft of the UDC was completed last year. RDG came in to help tie up some loose ends and make some edits. It was presented in 2 phases to the Planning Commission, who made a recommendation in 2 phases to you. You saw it in 2 phases as well. Had some follow-up comments, and then we were working with Lori on a lot of these updates, and that is what it was in your packet today. So I do want to go through a couple slides to call out the specific items, because the marked up version of the UDC includes all the markup of the entire process we did all the way back from when we were brought in that you saw at last meeting. And I do want to call out the things that are different from what you saw last time. So if we go to, I'll go article by article here and call out some of the changes. Article 2, there was removing row houses in the R1 low density residential district as a permitted use. Pretty straightforward. That was mainly just based on feedback we got on that change. Article 3 is probably where the majority of the changes are. These are the base district standards, so regulating things like setbacks, uses, building types, that type of thing. A lot of the changes that you asked us to follow up on are making things less restrictive or more flexible. The items that are highlighted here would be items that would be considered more restrictive. So for example, removing row houses from R1 to not a permitted use or conditional use would technically be considered more restrictive in the R1 district. I mentioned the DC district, so I'll call out, as we talked about the comp plan, so I'll call out some of these changes. Removing the minimum building height to permit 1-story buildings. The previous version would have wanted those to be 2-story or above. Removing building frontage requirements in various sub-districts around downtown. This third item that's underlined is amending the building facade that can have an awning or canopy projections over the right-of-way, into the right-of-way, I should say, and that's based on fire department comments to align with their goals and policies, and then clarifying transparency requirements. So a lot of things in Article 3 are just kind of either reducing setbacks or down a little more based on what the current code says, or being more flexible in other things. Article 5, which is a handful of a variety of different items. This section or this article is based on additional standards for specific types of uses that may require some additional considerations just based on the nature of the use itself. So there's a handful of bullet points here to fiddle with a few of these uses. For example, fuel sales, making that more of a limited and permitted use in the industrial districts rather than conditional. Accessory car wash. These are all items of making these uses more flexible in these districts, less restrictive in certain instances. And I won't go over through them bullet point by bullet point, but happy to answer any questions on any of these edits too. I'll go to the next article here, Article 6, General Development Standards. This was this section, or this, excuse me, article is related to parking. landscaping, and other items related to those, types of uses. Everything in all the changes in these sections are making things, less restrictive, more flexible. For example, reducing or, reducing the number of bicycle parking that might be required in additional in certain situations. Changing some of the measurements of parking. These aren't necessarily making it less restrictive, but just being more clear on how parking should be measured when administering it. For driveways and sidewalks, made some edits there to reduce widths and distances. And then landscaping, there was quite a few changes to that section based on feedback to basically, in a nutshell, let existing properties that are, a lot of existing properties that are already developed not be as subjected to new landscaping requirements if they were to make it improvements or want to do things on their property. Currently, there's kind of trigger points. If somebody went in and they don't comply with landscaping requirements and they want to do improvements on their property, they may have to add in landscaping that meets code requirements. So these changes would make that trigger a little bit higher. So just as an example, for on a site, for example, existing site that's doing an addition or enlargement, that instead of that being 30% enlargement being the trigger point, it's bumped up to 50% to meet landscaping. So things like that to give a little more leniency to existing developed properties. Next article 7, signs. Kind of similar situation as the landscaping section, allowing more flexibility for signs that are already existing. We did, based on feedback, increase slightly the maximum size and height of monument signs and multi-tenant signs to give some more flexibility for sign size, particularly on some of our higher traffic corridors to be able to see those signs more clearly. Allowing pole signs in commercial industrial districts along certain corridors, which are in the first draft were more restricted. And then some other just kind of minor things related to temporary sign size and signs in the DC districts. So allowing more single tenant monument signs in downtown. Not a lot in Article 9, just reduce the sidewalk width based on feedback from 5 feet to 4 feet with a bypass lane, which still meets ADA requirements. And then Article 10, lastly, is procedural. This is a section that is more making it more restrictive in the sense of basically incentivizing, or not incentivizing, but saying folks that come in and get permits that they have to get to work quicker. So adding language that permits will expire after 1 year if work isn't carried out, and reducing the time on which an approved site plan becomes void from 2 years to 1 year. And then lastly, nonconformities. This really ties back into a lot of the other sections, but giving more flexibility on non-conforming situations on how they can expand. If it's a non-conforming use, that they can continue to operate. If property's damaged or they're discontinued for any reason, giving them a little bit more of a time period that they can operate before they become have to conform with the code. So that's what a lot of the amendments to the non-conformity section. And then just a variety of definitions that are in the code that aren't defined, nothing really monumental in the definitions. So I know it's a lot of different, very specific changes, but like I said, we work closely with your representatives and staff to identify what those items were and make sure that they were up to date.
Okay, thank you. Any questions? Councilwoman Lathrop.
Thank you again for all of your work, Charlie. Can you just, for one thing, clarify the awnings, the requirements for awnings in the DC?
Yeah, I believe the current standard, my computer died. I was gonna pull it up, but the current standard, we talked about this with planning commission too, is awnings can extend out into the public right away. This is mainly related to downtown where the buildings go right up to the property line. So awnings right now can go out into the the right of way a certain distance. And fire had recommended limiting that to not going out more than 75% of the width of the sidewalk or the width of the, so kind of limiting the amount that they can encroach into the public. So there's a buffer between the street and a little more buffer between the street.
Another thing that was brought to my attention, maybe this is with the zoning map too, but in R1, it probably is with the zoning map, but R1 has a lot of duplexes, and I believe we're going forward and saying that we're not allowing the duplexes, but can we have some verbiage in there that if the duplexes exist in that R1, that if they were destroyed in some fashion, that they can be rebuilt? Can we have something to that extent in there?
Yeah, it'd be similar to what the amendment we made for the downtown
DC,
district, where
right.
if a building, a one-story building is destroyed, it could be rebuilt in its exact footprint.
Mhm.
I mean, there's two alternatives to take to that. You could either explicitly say they could be rebuilt 100% the same if they're destroyed more than 50%. Or you could just say duplexes are allowed or limited use in R1. Now that would make them allowed in all new development too, but either way.
All right, my other question.
Councilman Horner, you're.
Thank you, Mayor. Just so I understand where we're at on this, is that we are talking now about item 5, correct? Or are we still on item 4?
We're item 5.
Okay, we're on item
Item
5.
five.
Great. Okay, that's where my questions lie. I've got a couple of them, and I know that your laptop has died, so I'm gonna try to be as specific as I can in where they are located. This one has to do, one question I have has to do with the accessory dwelling units. I've got some concerns in there over, dictating. I don't have any problems with the detached. I have some issues, I think, with the attached. How do we determine that there's an accessory dwelling unit existing? And I'll give you an example. I'm gonna go out to Morningside Point. I'm gonna buy a lot. I'm gonna have someone build a house for me. And in that house, I'm gonna tell them I want a walkout basement. And I want 2 bedrooms, 2 baths, laundry, and a kitchen on the first floor. And then I want the same thing in the basement. Okay? Am I creating an accessory dwelling unit by asking for that?
Okay. I'll take, since I kind of came in at the latter half of the process, I'll give you my answer.
No, I understand you on that.
You hit on something that I actually have an issue with in general when we talk about accessory dwelling units. I like to talk about them as detached from structure because if they're within the structure, it's just another living space. But I believe what you're describing would be classified as if there's, depending on the definition that's in the code, if someone else is living there who's a non-family member, it would be considered accessory dwelling if it has the separate kitchen and bath facility.
And I
and is-
guess my other concern is, or my other question is, why does that matter to a city? I mean, I just don't understand why that should matter, or why we should be necessarily meddling in that. I can think of a number of homes right now that were designed from very start with the intention of taking care of a relative. And that relative has been provided with somewhat of an independent living arrangement. And I really don't see how that hurts us at all as a city, and that's why that's even something we need to regulate. I think it's a bit of an overreach when we're talking about these ADUs. I get that detached on an existing property, why we want to encourage it. I love that idea. I guess I could even understand if you have an existing property that's maybe some kind of a fat L shape and you want to now square it off and create another living area. Even that one, I'm kind of struggling to understand why the city should be that concerned. If they're meeting all the building requirements, building code requirements and everything, I don't know why we would care. The only other question I've ever been given before was, well, somebody could rent that out. And I'm like going, okay, so I don't get why we should even care about that. So I'm just wondering why this part of the ADU is still in there. And whether or not we should be seriously thinking about amending that out. Or, and I don't want to miss something. I honestly don't, but I am really concerned that this is a bit of an overreach. I mean, if I can afford to build a house of this nature, I don't see why that's a problem. I honestly don't. So with that said, the other one that I had was my next one that I've got that I'm kind of curious about is the one where we're talking about the canopy trees. I think that's a level of detail, again, that the city just, to me, the city shouldn't be dictating the kind of tree that I'm going to put in my front yard outside of an invasive species that I'm bringing in from, who knows where, and I'm going to plant it. Now it's going to take over the prairie. Those I get that we don't want because those can do economic harm. They can do environmental damage, et cetera. But dictating a canopy tree, and in some of the higher density places, I'm thinking like Blue Stem Commons right now. You tell somebody they got to plant a canopy tree in that front yard, and I think you're making a mistake. That's going to eventually do harm to driveway. It's going to do harm to sidewalk. It's going to do harm to the roof. It's going to do harm to overhead infrastructure eventually. I mean, I love the idea of a canopy road, or, when I grew up in Florida, it's still there. It's been there for years. And it's this beautiful canopy road, live oaks on each side, and it's gorgeous. I'd love to have that here. But Florida doesn't have these things called ice storms. They don't have that, not to the extent that we do. And those limbs that create canopy like that are going to be the first ones that are going to fail in an ice storm. I think we can have the same environmental impact and the beautification of the city just by saying plant a tree. So I'm seriously feel like that we should amend that word canopy out. We've got Keep Fremont Beautiful does a heck of a job on promoting canopy trees. And if that's what somebody wants to plant, let them plant it. I don't want to say no to that. And I don't have any problem with it other than I don't understand why we're going to dictate that. So I would recommend that we remove that item from that. The other part of it is this week, unfortunately, I was traveling out of town on business. I got through this much. I got this much left to go. This is our first reading. I will have more amendments, I'm sure, on the second reading. The only other comment I want to make, Sally has already kind of addressed, and I'm sorry I'm going long, Mayor, but this is a big and tough thing to get through. Sally has already alluded to this. When we made the resolution that the city would do in their best efforts to follow the UDC, it was my understanding that that would be made a part of the UDC and it would be almost like a cover letter to the UDC. I don't see that. And I would very much like to see that as a part of the UDC. So when anybody opens up that UDC and they see it, they're gonna see that the city is gonna try to take the lead in this. I think it makes these kind of things a little bit easier to swallow, for me as a citizen. And then the last thing is when we tabled this back a while back, when we got several of the articles and we just said, hey, we can't do this. The other thing we asked for then was the map. And we still don't have the map. And I'm okay because you guys have worked your tails off to get us to this point. I'm okay with us going through and saying that we're going to conditionally approve what we have in front of us, but I do not think this UDC can or should be implemented until we have the map. And we're able to run that map through the same process.
Yeah.
I just think we've got to be able to see the map and
Well,
understand the map.
Yeah, I guess well, we presented the map to the planning commission at the last meeting, so it must not got put in.
Yeah, it
in your
wasn't in my
packets.
backup materials and
Um,
I can't work off of that.
Okay, yeah, so definitely want to get you a chance to look at that. I will say, I think.
I don't know how we proceed on this. I'm okay. I've told a few of my other council members that I'm okay trying to get this done tonight because I don't want to be that guy that's holding us up longer. But I'm not comfortable voting on a map tonight, because I haven't had a chance to review it. The last time I looked at the map was the one that was printed, labeled January 7th or 17th or something like that. And I'm pretty sure I hope there's been some revisions made since then. And if there have been some revisions made, I would like an electronic copy of that I can blow up and I can actually read, because anything, and I know we've got, I know we've got the big map. I like the name of that. We got the big map over there. I love that. We need 7 more of them. Or we need a electronic version so we can look at it. And I probably sound a little more tense than I am about this. I'm actually very excited that we're here. And I'm grateful for everything people have done before and all this, but man, this is huge. And I sure as hell don't want to be doing this in another 5 years because we didn't get this one right. I would really like this one to last a really long time. And if we want to talk about changes in 5 years, it's not the entire UDC. It's something less than that. So I want to get it right. I want to do the right thing and I want to get this right. I want all of this wonderful work that has gone on before us to be honored by getting this right and doing a professional job to the best of our ability on getting this right. So I'm asking for that map outside of the small print that we're about to get. and to get it in a form that we can work with. I think that would be very helpful. I'll shut up.
Do we want to accept this map into the record tonight, just so that, and, okay. I'd just take a motion just to accept the map. Councilwoman Ganem.
No, I would just wanted to support our council member here. And basically, we're going to be getting a map. They are very difficult to read. And so
Yeah, no, it's-
electronic would be nice.
Yeah, we have one that you can zoom in as far as you want. It just must have got left out of the material.
And making it a conditional. I mean, are you going to make that as an amendment or as a conditional? Are you going to make a motion?
So if I could just chime in, I just from a process standpoint. So what we're seeing tonight in this ordinance, okay, is the ordinance that the planning commission originally passed before the amendments. Okay. So tonight, to go to first reading, again, this is going to have 3 readings at this. We have to amend the ordinance with the amendments that was presented by Charlie. So then really tonight you need to make sure that you're in agreement with those amendments that are presented in the packet in the backup. So that then we could make the amendment with those. Then we come back second reading, and then We could make more amendments to that. We could look at the map, so we could do that at second reading. If you wanted to wait, we could do it, we could wait. For tonight's purpose, what we're voting on essentially is the amendments that have been in the packet. You need to decide if you agree with those or not. Now, you could make more amendments tonight on top of these other amendments as presented, but I think you could also do that at second reading as well, or you could decide, we could do this again, first reading next meeting. I agree with you. We want to get it right, but I just want clarity on what the process is and legal is. Am I right? Am I on the right track here or?
Absolutely.
Okay.
My suggestion would be to approve the changes that came forward tonight, that changed what the planning commission initially recommended. That way, we're basically working with what I would call a clean slate. And then we add the other amendments. I can work on what the council members, I can work with them on presenting those ahead of time before second reading. That
You
way,
confirm the process for me. Is the map going to be a separate vote? Or will it
No.
be this? It'll be okay.
with the UDC,
So the second reading, we could have the map in the backup, and then you could either make amendments at that point. Hopefully this is making sense.
yep, 100%.
Go ahead.
Let's say we go through this thing and we approve the amendments tonight as the mayor is recommending, Travis. When our backup comes, is that going to be with those amendments incorporated, or is that going to be the same stuff as we have tonight?
It'll be included with the amendment.
Okay, so that'll all be incorporated in the UDC draft.
Correct.
It's already there.
Earlier this year. Nothing's changed from that draft that you tabled, except for the items that we identified in the memo and I presented tonight. Yeah.
And my last question, may we get those as soon as, literally as soon as
You have them.
possible?
You have them.
Okay, and the map electronically, where we can review it. Okay? That's there. Okay. All right. Thank you.
Councilman Jensen.
I'm sorry, I thought you needed an amendment to receive a map or something. Originally talked about that.
I
Motion to
think
receive.
we should receive it for this, yeah.
Motion to receive.
Okay. Councilman Sukram.
Second.
The motion carries 7-0, Mayor.
Okay, I think it's been a good discussion. Agree, are there any questions on the amendments additionally for Charlie? Or, Councilwoman Lathrop, do you have anything else you'd like to add at this point? This vote. Okay, go ahead. You can go ahead with the comments on the
Okay.
map, knowing that we'll have, again, second reading as well. So,
Okay, right,
Yes.
right. I just wanted to point out, I was at the planning commission and I've seen the map and I've had some concerns raised to me. If you look at your map, it's kind of the hot pink areas, if you will. It's the neighborhood commercial. And I spoke with Charlie and Jeff prior to the meeting this evening, and we're gonna look at changing that up a little bit because there are some concerns in the neighborhood commercial. We want to protect the homeowners in those areas because there are several hundred of them in those areas. And we want to make sure that if their house is destroyed, taken out by a tornado, whatever, that they are able to rebuild. We feel that's very important. And so we're looking at maybe redefining neighborhood commercial to include both commercial and residential, single family residential in that area. So that's probably gonna come at our next meeting. And then there's also on the north side of the YMCA, that's a PD over there. The south side of Parkview is also included in that PD and plan development. And that should probably be taken out of that PD area, so they're protected as well. So those are a couple things that you can look at as you're looking at the map that will be coming forward at the next meeting.
Okay. I think, so again, if you have, again, more amendments than what's presented tonight, I think, you know, you can work with Charlie, with staff, and then again, at second reading, we can present those essentially, and then you can discuss and decide amongst those. And that can, again, conclude the map and then anything else. So, I guess tonight, my recommendation would be that we make the amendment. Then would need a motion to do that, to amend the ordinance to include what's in the packet presented for first reading, with the expectation that the next reading, we'll again have another opportunity with the map and more additional amendments to be considered. Someone would be, Councilman Horner?
I am just fine with that, Mayor. I would ask that we go ahead and include the one recommended amendment, if we could, to drop the requirement for the word canopy and just have the recommendation, or just have the ordinance say that we need a tree.
Point of order, do we ever actually have the public comment,
It is, it is in, if you need the exact type.
Okay.
I think you can find it in figure
Thank you.
11-603D.
While you're looking for that, I am, stand corrected here. We need to go do public comment before we, don't think I did that. So thank you. I'll open the public hearing on this item for the UDC. Seeing no comments, I'll close the public hearing. Okay. So, we'll go ahead and address that amendment, Councilman Horner first. As long as, if everybody's comfortable, or we need to see that in writing on where that's at.
Maybe I believe you can just do a verbal amendment, or verbal acknowledgement of that, and then we'll amend it for the final adoption.
What are you saying? Put that in the next reading, or Councilman Warner wants to make that amendment for this?
Yeah, attorney can correct me, but I believe anytime you can make it before it'd be final approval, and then subject to amending, taking the word canopy out of section, blah, 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 blah.
Okay. So we could make the amendment for the whole thing, subject to canopy being taken out of 11-603-.
I'll defer, but I believe that's how it goes, something like that.
Yeah, that'll work. That works for me. There's a motion to amend to include all the changes plus that additional.
Is that your motion? I think we'll make sure that in the other areas it's taken, and we're just gonna address 11-603 tonight. And then we'll look at the rest come for second reading. Okay, all right. Is that is that your motion? Okay. Councilwoman Ganem,
I will second.
The motion carries 7-0, Mayor.
okay, so that has, amendments have been made. I would take a motion to hold first reading of ordinance 5730 now as amended. Councilman Jensen.
I'll make the motion to hold first reading of ordinance 5730 as amended.
Councilman Horner.
I'll second.
The motion carries 7-0, Mayor.
First reading.
Ordinance number 5730, an ordinance of the city of Fremont, Nebraska, amending ordinance number 5427 as it pertains to the Unified Development Code, providing for repeal of ordinances in conflict herewith, providing for severability, and providing an effective date. First read.
Okay, thank you. Now moving on to the consent agenda. All items in the consent agenda are considered to be routine by the city council and will be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a council member, staff, or a citizen so requests, in which event the item will be removed from the consent agenda and considered separately. Are there any items to be removed from the consent agenda by council or staff? Any items from the public to be removed? Seeing none, I would take a motion to approve the consent agenda. Councilman Sukram.
I'll make the motion to approve consent agenda.
Councilman Vaughn.
I will second.
Cast your votes.
The motion carries 7-0, Mayor.
Moving on to new business, item 15 is resolution 2025-275, authorizing the mayor to sign a change order 005 contract, Miko Henny, for construction of the street parks fleet maintenance building in the amount of $37,758.49. While staff report from Jeff Shanahan.
Mayor, City Council, Jeff Shanahan, Utility General Manager. This is for the change orders as described in the staff report to the street parks fleet maintenance building. One of the items, $7,800, is when we initially designed the layout of the facility, we were going to use portable lifts. We discovered that some of the vehicles have some ground effect stuff that doesn't accommodate those. So we're going to put in a couple permanent lifts, and we're going to just move some water pipe or some heating piping around to accommodate those. And then the installation of water pipe is $25,000. That was for some additional quantities that was not accounted for when the bids were put into place and was actually needed. So this project is at about $11 million right now. We're expecting it to be finished sometime around the end of June, 1st of July area of 2026. Hope to have all the punch list items out and have it all cleared out before the end of this fiscal year. Be happy to take any questions.
Councilwoman Lathrop.
Thank you, Jeff. I understand that we had the conversation, but can you just maybe expand on the additional 25,000, why the city's on the hook for that entire amount? I had more questions posed to me, so if you could just expand on that.
When the project was bid out, it was showing that an inch was 20 feet, when the reality of it, an inch was 30 feet. So when they bid it, they bid based on that many feet. Well, I'm just going to use a number, they put in 100 feet of pipe, we needed 150 feet of pipe. So we have to pay for the 50 feet of pipe. We would have had that bid in the project if they would have said 1 inch equals 30 feet instead. So we're just buying the material and having it installed for what it needs to be to make the connection.
Any other Councilman Horner?
Can you shed any light on where that error originated?
It was on the drawings from the in the bid package.
From the city was the one that gave the drawings, or it was?
It was our architect.
Okay.
The bid package documentation.
Okay.
Okay, any other questions? Any comments from the public on this? Okay, any other questions from council on this change order? I'll take a motion. There's no other questions. Councilman Sukrum,
Make a motion to approve resolution 2025-275.
Councilman Jensen,
And I'll second.
cast your votes.
That motion carries 7-0, Mayor.
Item 16 is an executive session to discuss real estate matters. So I would need a motion for that. You should have the language in front of you, Councilman Jensen.
I move to go into executive session for the purpose of discussing real estate matters and negotiation, and for the further reason that the executive session is necessary for the protection of the public interest.
Councilman Horner,
I second that motion.
a motion has been made and seconded to go into executive session for the purpose of discussing real estate matters and negotiations for the further reason that the executive session is necessary for the protection of the public interest. Is there any discussion? Pending motion is to go into executive session for the purpose of discussing real estate matters and negotiations for the further reason that the executive session is necessary for the protection of the public interest. Cast your vote, please.
Motion carries 7-0, Mayor.
Motion to go into executive session for the purpose of discussing real estate matters and negotiations for the further reason that the executive session is necessary for the protection of the public interest has been approved. Discussions will be limited to discussing real estate matters and negotiations. No official actions or votes will be taken during the executive session. We will now
Uh-oh.
Well. They're easier to move around. What's that?
We're talking aloud.
Okay, I'll take a motion to come out of executive session. Councilman Sukram,
Motion to go on executive session?
Councilman Vaughn,
Second.
The motion carries 7-0, Mayor.
okay, I'll take a motion to adjourn. Councilman Horner,
I will make a motion that we adjourn.
Councilwoman Ganem,
Second.
cast your votes.
That motion carries 7-0, Mayor.
We are adjourned. Have a good night, everybody.